I think it's live. Oh, it's not working. Mm, Let's see. Oh, here we are. Okay. Welcome, everyone, to Burnout, Brave, and Building Something New. Normally, I like to just sit here and talk about things we need to unlearn from corporate and how we need to lead ourselves differently. But I brought a friend along, Beth, and she is also a career coach. And together, we're just going to be two career coaches talking since we've spent years helping high achieving professionals lead with more clarity, confidence, and calm. And whether it's navigating a big career shift or simply just trying to stay sane inside the roles that we've worked so hard to build or our clients have worked so hard to build. So I just want to be clear. I'm going to bring Beth up here in a second, but this conversation, it is not about quitting your job. Okay. So just get that out of your head. And it's definitely not about burning it all down. It's about what happens when the version of success that you've been living, like it starts to feel like a little too small for who you are becoming. So, today we're going to talk about what burnout can look like. Even the inside of your career can still, even the inside of your career that you still care about. We're going to talk about the quiet courage it takes to shift course without blowing it up. And then we're going to talk about how to rebuild your power from the inside out. So, whether you're staying, evolving, or starting over, this is where you belong. Okay. So, let me bring up Beth. Beth, welcome. Hi,
Hi,
Beth. How's it going?
it's going really well. Thanks for having me. It's good to see you.
Absolutely. It has been a while. Beth, you have had an incredible corporate career before coaching. So tell us, and I know folks who are listening, and if you are listening live or even the replay, feel free to drop ones in the chat or additional questions for Beth and myself. We are just going to have a good, hearty conversation about, being brave and burnout and all of these things. So I want you to feel included in the conversation. So the chat is open. Okay. But Beth, when did you first feel the whisper that something needed to shift? I'm sure it wasn't like a scream, but I'm looking for like that subtle knowing that maybe the path wasn't fully yours anymore.
Yeah, that's such a great way to describe it is this whisper because we've talked a lot and I know that your specialty is really burnout and I was almost like, yeah, that's not me, right? I didn't burn out. And the more we talked, I was like, wow, cuz it doesn't look the same for everyone and it really was more of a whisper for me. And I think while I always enjoyed my work and I had a long career in corporate America, 30 years, I always kept things really interesting and exciting because I made a lot of moves, right? I moved across the supply chain, I moved into finance. And I think the thing that gave me the most joy and
Mhm.
satisfaction in my work was like the ability to impact change. Like I wanted to have an impact to the business or to people's lives. And so for a long, long time, I was doing that. I was moving roles, but I always also felt, and my supply chain people can relate, I'm sure, like do things that have a really tangible impact, right? We
Yes.
make changes and it's like, okay, that just increased output by this much, which increased sales by this much, or things like that. And so I found myself in my last role, which was in finance, in years like 4, 5, and 6. I really was feeling like I wasn't having that same opportunity to make a really tangible impact. And while I was learning new things, and it was still exciting, and I was still fairly fulfilled, I was like, there's just something more. There's like, I need more. And this isn't where I'm going to get it. This path, something needs to change.
Oh, I lost you there. Oh, sorry. I lost something. There was like a glitch or something. No, but I'm with you because sometimes that whisper, it shows up as like a momentum loss. It's not like burnout that knocks you out, but it's like that slow drift. And I like how you described it. Like, it wasn't all of a sudden. It wasn't just like a smack in the face, but it was like something slowly. I don't want to say deteriorated, but it kind of eroded a little bit. What did
Mhm.
that tension, I would say, between being practical and being honest with yourself actually look like?
That was probably that was hard for me
Yeah.
because I mean, I am so practical. I'm like, why? I knew there was this tension, but I was like, this is a great job. You're in a great role. It's a really good company. Why can't you just be happy with this? So it was really emotional. It was really emotional when I finally like had the moment where I decided, and I'm a very decisive person. Like once I decide something, I take action and I don't
Yeah.
look back. And that just needed to happen for me. But that process of getting there was pretty emotional because it was
Yeah.
like, okay, this is going to be the end of a really big chapter for me. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, but I came to that conclusion and I was like, yep, it needs to happen. It needs to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. And I would encourage for those of you who feel similarly, right? I know everyone's not big on journaling, but write down
Mm.
your sentiments. When this project comes up and you're like, hey, I'm not excited about it anymore, or like just take your time and jot it down. So that way, when you do come to this realization, similar to what Beth is talking about, you can like go back a few pages and truly see it. And it kind of reminds me of like those end of year reviews, like, tell me about all the great projects. Yeah, but how did you feel along the way? Did it truly light you up? Did you feel like it wasn't lighting you up, and why? And when you see it in your own words written down alongside your wins, for me, I feel like it contextualizes it for you. It doesn't feel like, man, it came out of the blue. It's like, no, I've been feeling like this for a while. And this shift that I feel now's the time. So
Mhm.
I want to like dig more into kind of like the subtle drift that you were talking about, when practicality kind of costs you a little bit, right? Because like so many women in our audience, they probably feel this way. And drop a one in the chat if you feel this way. Like it's like you're craving momentum, that and you feel like you're moving, but you're not progressing. Was that true for you? Like, what did burnout look like back then? And what did it end up teaching you about yourself, not just your work?
Mm. Yeah, I definitely feel that. I mean, I was moving. I was moving a lot, but it's such perfect wording, but not progressing because there was
Mm,
constant change, right? I mean, I moved from role to role to role, throughout engineering and then moved into procurement, moved to several different roles. And then I moved to finance. And even within finance, which I was in a role that was like partially built with me in mind. I mean, it
yeah,
was the perfect fit. It took all of the things that I could do really well for the company into account and, made that possible. So it was movement, but it wasn't progress. It was like, I've done this for a long time. I mean, for me and what helped me
mhm,
know that my time there was, really probably coming to an end. I had I think five lateral moves. Like lateral moves are great in
yeah,
corporate and they
yeah,
give you growth opportunities. And I was still having growth opportunities, but at the senior director level to have five lateral moves, it's also a bit of a sign, right? And it's like, okay, so this is movement and this is fun and I love my work, but I just knew that I wasn't progressing. I wasn't doing new, really hard things. I was using a lot of my skills, but I knew that I needed more and I couldn't come up with any answer that made sense
yeah,
at that company.
mhm,
And so for me, it was okay, I have to make a big step. I have
yeah.
to like force a real change to happen. And that's when I knew it was time to leave.
Yeah, and I think that's such an important distinction, fulfillment and misalignment, because they can coexist. And sometimes, at least for a lot of the clients that I work with that are in this burnout cycle, all of their validation is coming from these external forces, promotion, 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 or just ticking off boxes, often companies recommend rotational programs, work in finance, work in procurement, work in marketing, so on and so forth. So yes, you're ticking the boxes, but does it truly align with who you are and where you want to go? And sometimes success keeps you busy enough to miss your own signals. I'm sure people can relate to that. So, um, if you can, just I would say a moment of silence for missing the signals. I mean, how many of us, I myself, I miss the signals. So, um, Beth, when you started pivoting, how did you balance that logic-driven, practical side with the voice that just knew something else was calling? And I ask because I think clarity doesn't often show up, or it doesn't come from spreadsheets. It comes from stillness, from finally pausing long enough to hear what's underneath that noise.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish it came from spreadsheets. That's my language. That's my love language. Love a good spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and I'm not really good at being still. So I do feel like for me, it kind of punched me in the face. It was
Okay.
really, really interesting because the beginning of my pivot, right? So I make this choice. I'm like, okay, there's nothing else for me here
Mhm.
at Hershey, where this company I loved for 26 years. And right, great experiences, left on fantastic terms, just a very personal. There was nothing else for me there. It was time to move on. And I was thinking, I'm going to go get another job in the supply chain. I wanted to continue, I wanted to go back to a little bit of my roots in procurement. That's what I thought I was going to do. Wanted to be at that next level, that VP level at some big company, right? So I'm in full mode, didn't even give myself a minute
Mm.
to, so bad, I know. And everybody told me to. People were like, could you just take a breath? I didn't listen. I didn't listen at all. I know. So I didn't take a breath and I'm like job hunting and I'm interviewing and I've got my whole network is helping me and we're, looking for the next big procurement role for me. And I was excited about it. Um, but my intentions really weren't pure. Like I
Mm.
was totally chasing a title
Yeah.
and and I was sort of dreading it because I was like, okay, I'm in my 50s. I'm a little bit tired. I'm a little bit tired from the corporate, the change of the roles I've had, the changes I've made, lots of big leaps across departments, across categories. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go into another company. I got to learn who everybody is. I've got to learn an industry. I've got to learn their spend categories. I've got to
Mhm.
make a name for myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, can I do it? I think I want to do it. I think I want to do it. And then two things happened. This is where it
Okay.
punches me in the face.
Okay.
A guy that is a friend and colleague, he was actually on my team. Not an emotional guy, not big on sharing feelings. We were just having a breakfast, and he was making changes as well. And he said to me, "You know what you should do? You should be a career coach." Like he said, it's your superpower. Like that's your gift.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. Like that's sweet. Let me eat
Yeah.
my pancakes here. And like, I'm not going to do that. That's really sweet, but I don't want to start my own business. What a pain that sounds like. I don't want to start something so new. I just want somebody else to give me a paycheck for the work that I do. But I couldn't get it out of my mind. Like it stayed with
Mm.
me. It really stayed with me. So then another thing happened, like right on the heels of that. An old professor that I still stay in touch with said, you should read From Strength to Strength. Have you read
Oh,
that?
no, I haven't. I haven't read that
Okay,
one.
you would like it. He said you should read From Strength to Strength, and the whole super easy read.
Okay.
The whole concept is the first half of your life, you're learning new things, you're building your skills, you're getting better and better and better at what you do. In the second half of your life, it's time to tap into those things that you've already built. It's time to lean into your wisdom
Mm.
and acknowledge that you're not getting better at things anymore. You've already reached a peak of like learning, I'm probably misquoting things, but the gist is lean into your wisdom. And I was like, oh my gosh, these two things coming together for me were just
Yeah.
like, yeah, I think you're doing something wrong. I think you need to stop chasing this corporate dream and start leaning into your wisdom and your gifts and your talents.
Mm.
And that's when I decided to build step function coaching and build my program that helps other people. And I got so excited about it, like the joy. I was
Mhm.
like a kid, just like
Yeah.
really excited about something, just doing something completely new, but that I already knew how to do.
Yeah. Oh man, I love
That was a
that
long
you
answer.
it is, but I love that, yes, both of us are guilty of, like, missing the signals, but after you got both of those kind of, like, wake-up calls, like, in very close succession, you said to yourself, "Hold on, wait a minute, there could be something to this," right?
Mhm.
And on top of that, I know being in corporate, right, like, we're driven with the data, right? And I think that book kinda opened it up to you.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
began to look and see and appreciate so many different facets of not only your personality, but your accomplishments or even where you thrive. You said, "You know what? This might be something. This is a good this might be a good shift." And I also like how you mentioned that you came alive or you got excited about building and putting things together. And that's the power move. It's when you start aligning with the clarity that you get. That's where the real momentum happens.
Mhm.
And often so many of us just overlook it. So I'm just so happy you listened to it because I could just imagine um, I could just imagine you following the pursuit of happiness, following the track that everyone else does and
Mhm.
missing out, all of your clients missing out on not only the opportunities, but the way that you help them build and develop. So, um,
Mhm.
thank you for stepping out of that, because I'm sure it wasn't easy to step into it, but I'm glad that you pivoted, right? Because
Mhm.
it's just so hard to step outside of the norm, especially when the steps in front of you aren't necessarily clear.
Yeah.
Um, so
Yeah.
tell me more about like your corporate leadership experience and how that shows up in your coaching now. Like what has stayed and what has just had to go?
Yeah. Um, I think the things that have stayed, again, me being super practical, um, would be the stuff that is just like the transferable skills, right? That I used in corporate that I also use in my business are,
Mhm.
like thinking strategically, right? I have to be thinking about what do I want? What am I offering? What does this look like in the long term? What does this look like a year from now, 3 years from now? Applying frameworks. I'm an industrial engineer, so it's all about efficiency and process and reducing waste. So I apply that same thinking and leadership skills in kind of what I do today, celebrating wins, learning from failures and all of those things. One thing I probably use the most that translates really well from both corporate to this coaching world is asking questions.
I like
Like,
that.
yeah, I had to get really good. And this is, I mean, I teach this, I try to teach this as well. Like, there's more power in asking questions than in saying statements and what should be in so many levels. It's just powerful. But I had to get really good at that in my corporate world because I was so rarely the expert in what I was doing because I made so many moves
Yeah.
that I just had to ask, constantly asking questions and seeking clarity. And I do that today with my clients, and that's huge. It's like really pulling out of them things they didn't even realize as I'm asking these questions. I mean, that's what good questions do. They put truth on the table. So yeah, so that's probably, yeah, go
Let me
ahead.
jump in here because we did get some comments here. It's always exciting when you get live comments, right, Beth?
Okay.
You were talking about getting good at asking questions, and someone put in the chat that burnout during the heavy 9 to 5 roles that this person occupied, it gave them the deepest depression, right? Sadness, and
Mm.
just feeling highly confused. And it made them question personally and ask themselves, what am I supposed to be doing? Like truly, what am I supposed to be doing? And perhaps you felt that way too, or maybe that's how you approach your clients in their situation. Like, hey, what do you feel like you're supposed to be doing versus what you should be doing? Do you
Mhm.
feel like that question comes up a lot
Oh my
sometimes,
gosh.
or
Oh my gosh, so much. Every now and then, like I have clients across the whole spectrum of people who know exactly what they want, but just don't know how to get it, and people who do not know what they want. And I think there's beauty in simplicity. And we do this really simplistic exercise, and it's called a start, stop, continue. And it's usually used in business. I mean, it's taught as a part of continuous improvement, like theory, but I use it in relation to people's lives and just like, what is it that you're doing today that you love? You don't want to lose that. We want to continue that. What is it that you're not doing that you wish you could be doing? That's the start. And what is it that you do that you just absolutely hate, right? Up for a lot of people, that's like, oh, it's the same thing every month, or it's administrative tasks, or it's just, I don't know, being told what to do and never having the option to choose for myself. And it's like, okay, we want to stop that. We want to stop that. Whatever you're doing next, we don't know what the title is. We don't know what company it's for, but we know what it needs to include. And so I think just we do a lot of that kind of work and really searching for what is it that brings you happiness? What is it that you aspire to do? And try to build that into their next role. That becomes an important part of the interview process too, because now they're not just going through the motions of interviewing for a job. Oh, I hope I get it.
yeah,
It's I'm interviewing for a job and it needs to align with these things that bring me joy. And if it doesn't, then it's probably not for me. Now, I mean, that's if somebody's in a deep depression, that's, those simple things might not fix that. That could be a lot deeper, but that's just one of the things that I do because if people are sad and unfulfilled and have nothing to look forward to,
yeah,
we don't want to continue that. We
yeah.
absolutely need to make a change.
Yeah,
That
and
might.
I like how you brought it up earlier that because you were doing these different roles and you were moving around, you weren't necessarily the subject matter expert. And you can kind of compare that to life and career. We aren't the subject matter experts. This is the first time that I've seen this day. You know what I mean? This time of year, right? But
Mhm.
maybe approaching the day with questions, right? Instead of, being a dictator or just accepting things as they are, can help you either realize when you're misaligned. And for those of you listening, I really like this start stop approach because until you write it down, until you see it, you don't realize that not only are these things something that you can stop, but that you have the power to shift, to either delegate or look at it differently.
Mhm.
Man, Beth, you're sharing so many nuggets. And I wanted to ask, like, when you talk to your clients who are still in corporate, who want to thrive, not just survive, like, how do
Mhm.
you talk to them? And it sounds like, these questions are something big that you lead with.
Yeah. Yeah, because you could perceive me as, well, you left corporate. Why you're going to tell me that I should stay and that I can get fulfillment, but you left. Yeah, but I left after 30 years, right? I had a lot of great experiences and I found my career really just wonderful. I mean,
Mm,
wonderful. So, and my husband used to tease me because I was a company girl. He's like, "You're such a company girl." I go all in when I'm in on something, but this first phase that we do in my Career Boost program, that's what I call this 90-day program, is always this self-reflection and goal setting piece of work.
mhm.
It just
Yeah.
has to start with that. So, because maybe corporate in the traditional sense isn't for them, right? Like maybe they have some things they really need to figure out. Maybe they want to move to nonprofit or they want to move to something else that isn't like the traditional corporate path. But that work that we do, and we do basic stuff, just like personality assessments and strength finders and the start, stop, continue work. And just to really make sure that we're not talking about what title do you want? Like people always get posed this question, where do you want to be in the next 3 to 5 years? and nobody knows how to answer it. It's like, okay, I guess I'll make something up. I remember like really being very aware of the fact that I was faking it in this question, right? Like, okay, here's my fake answer. Here's what I'm going to say to people because I don't know what I want. So we shift that when I'm talking to my clients to what experiences do you want to get in the next few years? Not where do you want to be, like an end state in the next 3 to 5 years, but what experiences do you want that you haven't gotten yet?
Yeah.
It's more about that. Yeah.
No, no, I like that because often people talk about like a bucket list, right? But they think about it like in the hobby sense, or before you leave this earth and this body. What do you want to do? Climb Mount Everest, but what do you really want? Do you really want to be the VP of marketing? Do you want to work on ads? Do you want to look at supply chain? Like having those true and honest conversations. And that's why I think coaching is critical, because often we rely on our managers, we rely on HR to help us with these decisions and this guidance point. But until you are aligned to yourself and until you have an unbiased perspective from someone who's done it, right? So that's where your 30 years experience comes from. You don't hear what you're saying. You're just moving your feet, you're just going along with the patterns, and that alignment is critical. Oh, Beth, we're coming up on time here. I wanted to ask you if you could give words to your former self. What if you could whisper something to the past version of yourself? The one thing, the Beth that's doing everything right, checking all the boxes, but feeling a little lost. What would you say to her? What would you say to that version of yourself?
I think I would say stop focusing so much on titles and
Mm,
comparing yourself to others
okay.
and just know that you have a gift to share
Yeah.
and your time is coming.
Mm. Okay. Now, do you think you would have heard it?
I
Because
don't
we talked
know.
about this in no. I
I don't
know.
know. I don't know.
I know.
I think I might have. I mean, it just feels there's something about when somebody else, like if this was coming from someone else, when someone else tells you they believe in you and that you have something special, it's so powerful. And I had
Mm,
people do that in my career, but some people haven't. And when I work with them, they're just so grateful that they're hearing it from me. I'm like, oh my gosh, you are so special. Like you have so much potential. Your time is coming.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
just something like I wish I could have really known that. Known that.
Mm. I like that. I mean, you're right. I mean, hindsight is 2020, right?
Mhm.
That's beautiful because it's such a reminder that success isn't doing more, it's becoming more of who you were meant to be. And for those of you who are still with us, thank you so much for joining us in this conversation because it needs to be had. Often we talk about burnout, right? But we never talk about kind of like the little the sparks that are happening before the flame starts, right?
Mhm.
And I like how Beth mentioned before that it was these little misalignment steps that helped her realize, you know what, it might be time for me to step out of this. And then through that realization, I I truly believe, Beth, you can disagree, but I feel like because of that, because you admitted that to yourself and you saw it, you were able to hear some of the pieces of feedback, or even, just some of the possible avenues for you from different people, different it just came from different places that you wouldn't have expected. And if you weren't honest with yourself, you probably would have ignored it completely. So again, I want to thank everyone for joining. And Beth's work helps, professionals thrive from the inside out. I mean, she talked about personality tests, doing the strength finder, also like doing like goal setting. I mean, whether you're staying in corporate or just redefining your path, it's good to have someone in your corner. Her Career Boost program, it's great for not only clarity, strategy, but also career leadership. And it's open now, right? Career Boost. It's open now
Mhm.
if you're ready for next level support. And if this conversation stirred something in you, I really want you to think about just stop overperforming and underfeeling. Because you can do more if you know you can do more, but we want you to be more of yourself, right? So Either way, I want to invite you to my masterclass. It's called Power Without Burnout, where we look at how to realign and see where do you go from here? How do you process those voices of that misalignment? And then how do you process it while keeping your job, right? We don't want you to just go through the motions. We still want you to live and we want you to thrive. So this isn't about achieving more, but it's about becoming a woman or a man, but who leads themselves so powerfully that everything around you shifts, your boundaries, your career, your presence. Because I believe this, when you lead yourself, the whole room recalibrates. So join me or find Beth. Beth, you're here on LinkedIn. Where else can they find you?
On Instagram as well. Yeah. So
Okay.
LinkedIn and Instagram are the biggies, both at Step Function Coaching on Instagram and just Beth Carell on LinkedIn.
Okay. So join us, find us, and let's start shifting together.